Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Quick Poetry Knowledge, and this is your hostess Mehjabeen. The Brontes were three English sisters of great literary skill. Charlotte Bronte was the oldest. She is chiefly popular for her novel Jane Eyre. The next sister is Emily Bronte, and she is the author of Wuthering Heights. Annie Bronte was the youngest, and she is chiefly remembered for her book The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. The Bronte sisters explored the intricacies of human life in their stories, and even today, so many years after their death, their novels are still printed and sold worldwide. Today, I am going to explain a poem that Charlotte Bronte composed after the death of her youngest sister Annie to tuberculosis in 1849. At the time of her death, Annie Bronte was only 29 years old. A year before the demise of Annie Bronte, Charlotte had lost her second sister Emily to tuberculosis as well. And then eventually, 6 years after losing Annie, Charlotte Bronte herself lost her life to pneumonia. On the Death of Annie Bronte is a poem which conveys the author's sorrow and relief that her sister's life had finally come to an end. There's little joy in life for me and little terror in the grave. So the author says that she has hardly any reason to be happy. There's hardly any scope for joy and pleasure in her life, and little terror in the grave. And today she has reached a point in her life when she is no more afraid of death. She is no longer afraid of the grave. I have lived the parting hour to see. I have lived the hour of separation, the time when her sister was dying, the hour of separation. I have lived the parting hour to see of one I would have died to save. That hour of separation, I would have easily passed that hour of separation by dying myself if my prospect of dying, if my possibility of dying would have saved my sister's life. Calmly to watch the failing breath, calmly I watched the failing breath of my sister. I knew that with each passing moment she was sinking, her condition was going down and down. Wishing each sigh might be the last, and her illness was so terrible, her dying was so painful that Charlotte had wished that each sigh would be the last. She just wanted her sister to leave the world. She was no longer in a position to watch the agony, to watch the pain of her youngest sister. Longing to see the shade of death over those beloved features cast. So those were the beloved features. The sister was a precious sister to her, and she was longing, she was desiring, she was wishing to see the shade of death cast its features over her sister, because the death of her sister, the illness of her sister was so painful, it was so traumatic that Charlotte was no longer in a position to keep on seeing her sister dying. She just hoped, she just prayed that the end would come sooner so that her sister would be freed from the pains of this world. The cloud, the stillness that must part the darling of my life from me. The darling of my life is the youngest sister who had died. The cloud is a kind of reference to silence. It is also a reference to the presence of God who had done a favor by taking away the life of this younger sister. The cloud, the stillness that must part the darling of my life from me. The author is remembering God, and she says that, and then to thank God from my heart. She has reasons to thank God. Although she is angry with God, although she is disheartened, she is dejected, she is totally broken, but still she has to acknowledge that God has done something great by relieving her sister from her intense pain, relieving her forever. And then to thank God from my heart, to thank Him well and fervently. So she had reasons to thank God for taking away her sister from this world. Although I knew that we had lost the hope and glory of our life. So Annie Bronte was the hope and glory of their life, of the Bronte sisters. But now that was gone. With her demise, a chapter from their life was completely gone. Although I knew that we had lost the hope and glory of our life, and now benighted means now I am overtaken by darkness, and now benighted, tempest tossed, I am troubled by a violent storm, and now benighted, tempest tossed, must bear alone the very strife. So it's going to be a long life, it's going to be a tiresome life. I'm exhausted by it, but I feel sad that I no longer have my sister to share the difficulties of my life, and I have to pass the rest of my journey all alone. This poem is important in literature because it expresses Charlotte Bronte's sense of attachment for her youngest sister who was so precious to her. The poem also reflects the author's loneliness and isolation. It is quite apparent that the last years of this great English novelist was a sad and empty one. With the death of her youngest sister, Charlotte seemed to have lost all her hopes and aspirations in life. I'll stop here for now. I'll meet you again with another poem very soon. Until then, bye.